ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the finale of Versus Super Mario Brothers. We end off this episode with the completion of World 5-4 as we died in that one at the very last episode. So now we're just going to make our way through the rest of the worlds here, 6, 7, and 8, which aren't too much different than their counterparts in the original Super Mario Brothers, save for a level or two here and there, which I will point out, of course. So 6-1, some different level design, but all in all, if you remember how the stage is, you could pretty much speed run through it as you did in the original, minus this last section right here. But again, not too much of a problem, especially with Fire Mario at hand. Go ahead and complete it, and then we make our way next to World 6-2 with 6 fireworks. I keep forgetting to look if the numbers match up with the original, because remember, if you remember from the original Super Mario Brothers, you get fireworks if the last digit on a timer is either a 6, 3, or 1. It gets changed in the lost levels. I don't know how that's worked out, and I have not seen it if it's been a 6, 3, or 1 in this case for versus Super Mario Brothers. World 6-2 is relatively the same. About 95% of the level design is the same here. Get the Starman. If you know how to speed run, just run on through. And I do love pulling this off each time I play. Starman still plays, but I love doing that. I love doing that in the original, and I'm glad that they still had it here in the arcade version as well. 6-3, here is where the level design is quite a bit different, in the fact where they decide to try to keep it like the original, but to be dickish about it, especially here. Ooh! With the lost level design aspect. If you do not immediately run and jump, you will not make that. I guarantee it. But in this case, here I try to go for a power-up. But, yeah, that did not necessarily work out in my favor, and I, for some reason, did not have enough momentum to go through that. So, down to 1 life in 6-3. And as we continue on through the adventure, oh, that bullet bill nearly strikes me in the face once again. But here comes the difficult part. Here is a jump where you have to be precise. That is a tight jump altogether, and so is this one coming up because of that shit right there. And that's what netted me a game over once again. And if you get a game over, guess what? That's all the way back to 6-1, beginning of the world that you died in. So we immediately cut through the ending of 6-3, save some time. Trust me, you do not want to see that. Barely made that at the very end there. Everything in me clenched when that occurred, because I thought I was not going to make it. World 6-4, here we go. The 6th dungeon castle. The 6th dungeon level of the world here. This is the Lost Levels aspect design, as this is, I believe this may be the exact same as 6-4 from the Lost Levels. So your mushroom is there, but you got all sorts of fire bars ready to attack you at any moment if you're not careful. The Podobos, the spacing in between. So it's a bit difficult to handle. Big ass fire bar coming up. Whoop. Oh, I thought it was a big fire bar. Or I'm thinking of the last episode. My apologies there. No, here it is, coming up right there. There we go. The big fire bar. If you're not careful, that will take you out like nobody's business. So here we are with Bowser. Now he has the hammers on his head. I don't believe he had them in World 5. I could be mistaken. If I do, I apologize. But you got the Podobo, his fire, his hammers. We save Toad. World 6-4. Now we move on to World 7, and we keep it moving, shaking, and baking. Beautiful. And it gets a bit difficult from here because you got a lot of bullet bills ready to pounce on you. Ooh, like that. Like I got a bullet bill right to the face for that one. And right now I'm playing a Mario Kart with the bullet bill itself, apparently. But I'm hopping it on foot instead of cart here. See, I'm chasing the bullet bill. And that bullet bill is going to lead me into something very fantastic in just a second here. Into death. And just plain playing deaf here with the screw you, Hammer Brothers. I saw that hammer there. I was like, let me get the hell out the way. Grab the mushroom. Again, there's this water section here. In the original game, it was just a platform there and a Buzzy Beetle where you can also obtain infinite lives as well. 3-1 and 7-1 were the two levels in the original Super Mario Brothers where you could perform the infinite lives trick. In the second game, where it's all Buzzy Beetles, 4-2, I believe you can also pull that off if you're quick enough. But now that we're in World 7-2, we are now into the underwater section of the game. And, like I said, for me, these were the moments where I felt like I could take a break because with the momentum in the water itself, even though we have a fuck ton of bloopers here, I just decided to take a hit anyways and just go for it. But with the momentum in the water-based levels, as long as you're not below a block or two when you get towards the bottom, I just let it go and just try to relax from the platforming because I found the platforming, or at least in Lost Levels case, found the platforming more intensive than the water level itself. So whenever I reached the water level, that was my cue. It's like, okay, I can breathe a little bit. I'm okay. If I lose a life or two, not a big deal. But compared to the platforming section where I lose like 5 or up to 10 at a time, there's a reason why every time I start a Lost Levels playthrough in World 1-1, I immediately go for that Koopa in the beginning so I can go to up to 128 as much as possible without going over, because remember, in the NES versions, if you go over 128, your lives become a negative, and if you die after that, automatic game over. So, moving on to World 7-3, this is Cheep Cheep Bridge number 2, with a bit of modifications here. I believe a mix of the original and the Lost Level versions in this one. Your Koopas are there, of course. This is the Lost Levels portion of it, especially right here in this section. But since you don't have the Lost Level physics, you have to hit that Koopa, like, very near the top in order for it to reach, as I failed to do so right there. You got Cheep Cheeps that pop up at random, so one can just like snipe you right in the fucking face when it comes up to you. So you have to take your time, but it could also be like a bit of a randomization. So the fact that I'm going through this so far so good and looking through it just fine, once you reach these platforms, you're essentially home free. Home 3. Okay, yeah, sure, let's go with that. But, luckily I was able to make it through without any problems. Still have 2 lives going to World 7-4. Our second puzzle level with the interesting beginning here is this wasn't here in the original Mario Brothers. But if you think you know the answer to this particular puzzle thanks to, the original Super Mario Brothers, guess what? You are wrong, Mr. Wrongy Wrongerton. This one has a unique stipulation, is that the solution to the puzzle is changed, and the fact that I did not know that, I spend the rest of the time trying to figure it out for this life only, because I'm going to be honest with you, the footage is sped up, and it's just like, where the hell do I go, The only reason why I know the answer to this particular puzzle right here was because I looked it up afterwards. You see, I'm going through just frantically trying to figure out what the hell it is, but as I get through the front here, as soon as I die, I paused the game and I went and then looked up on YouTube versus Super Mario Bros. 7-4, and the solution to the puzzle is a bit weird in this, maybe not weird because there's only so many combinations you can perform, but weird in the aspect that's like, you would never probably not think to do this your first few times. So the solution is bottom, top, top, and then you go to the bottom portion, which you didn't do the original, then you take the top portion, and then you go back to the bottom. So this is a little bit, not weird, but this is different in that aspect. And once you do that, you clear it, you can go to Bowser, Podobo, hammer Bowser up there, hit the axe, you're good to go, and we are into the final world of the game. World 8-1, let's go ahead and get this taken care of. World 8, in terms of level design, I would say it's about 98% similar to the original as a whole. So, they didn't really change much for this one. They just, I guess, took the aesthetic, minus a few item placements here and there, or just removing them completely altogether. So we go through here. This is where this is like the coin section here. And of course, since I'm antsy and I'm anticipating, you know, stuff to be changed, stuff to be different, minus this star right here, that's still the same for the original. So I just grab it and haul ass like a motherfucker in this one. But since I'm anticipating something to be different, because ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, after Worlds, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, that's actually my first time going through it in versus Super Mario Brothers. So this is kind of blind for me, or not kind of, well, except that little section in the end, there's like one pillar is gone, but this is pretty much blind for me at this point, since like World 4. So what you have been seeing so far is just me going off based on my memory, and the deaths that I incurred and stuff like that is because I didn't know it would change like that. So you saw 6-3 how I was struggling to it. That was my first time going through it. So, especially in 8-2Ks, this one, in the original is a 1-up, but here is a power-up. A mushroom in this case, as I'm trying to go through it. So, I'm trying to time it just right, but the platform disappears and the power-up goes through the pit. So, it's just crazy how the little things can make a big difference in terms of gameplay, your strategy, how you approach it, and just, you know, stuff like that. Because I'm used to a certain way of doing things, essentially, from playing Super Mario Brothers all these years. And since you start at the beginning of the world each time you get a game over, and you only get 3 lives per game, per continue or whatnot, here I'm frantically trying to find a power-up that could probably get myself through, but I was like, you know what, screw it, keep it going. At least at this point, myself, I know I'm near the end of the level. Near it, not at it, but here we go. So I know there's a Koopa coming up, and I'm trying to see if something has changed, which again, instead of 2 pillars at that very end, there's only 1. And somehow I still managed to get the 5,000 point bonus. Not sure how I did that. But 8-3, if you recall, if you know how to play it correctly, you can obtain a fire flower in this level. Guess what they decided to do for this version? So here I am taking care of the Hammer Brothers, which I got very lucky there, I won't lie, and it's like I thought I would die there. But something is a bit different here in the fact that, yeah, up there should be a power-up. There is none whatsoever. So I'm have to go through Small Mario, through the second portion, which isn't so bad here. I just have to face another set of Hammer Brothers, and I am being very careful after what happened to me in World 5, where that hammer hit me for no reason. So, or no reason for it to be hit by the hammer to begin with. So there is a mushroom power up here, but that's all I'm getting pretty much. So I have to try to use this Koopa to get through the rest of it. Nope, missed that one for some reason. You saw it went right through it, but no, it just had to miss it. In this case, I say screw it because we're already at the end. And I take my sweet time here because Lord knows I do not want to die. But here we go, we made it through. Or I made it through, excuse me. I say we because everyone who is watching this right now, I include you guys in this one, in this adventure as well. So we are in World 8-4. Nothing much different except for 1 or 2 minor changes here. This pathway is a little bit longer. But the second change comes in the next portion here. If you remember the original puzzle from World 8-4 and the pipes you have to go through, it is essentially the same thing here. But there is a slight difference, which we should be coming up in coming up right here. So take care of the Koopa first. That block right there is just slightly lower. It is in the original Super Mario Brothers, exactly lined up where that platform is, but in this version it's a slightly higher, so you have to obtain some speed in order to bank it through. And you saw almost there for a second, I got smacked by a Cheep Cheep there. And of course, the final water section of the game. Interesting thing to know, even though this is like the last level of the game. when you're stationed on the floor like that, the bloopers can never touch you. I almost said bloop bloops, thinking of cheap cheeps, and it's like bloop bloop. So, but the bloopers will never touch you on the bottom. But I did remember at this part, there's a certain son of a bitch, that motherfucker right there. And that one just sniped that hammer from far away. I did not expect that one. But here we go once again. We're in the last section portion of this game, essentially. So I'm just waiting for my correct timing because I do not trust myself jumping on the hammer. Do you know how difficult it is to do so? To jump on a hammer brother in this game without taking a hit or dying or something like that? Yeah. Here I'm scared and that flyer glitched out for some reason. But we are done with the game. We made it through. Game over, Bowser. We've reached the princess. Peace is paid with kingdom saved. Hurrah to Mario, our only hero. This ends your trip of a long friendship. That is the exact same ending as it is in the Lost Levels, except the Peach sprites, or Toadstool sprite, in this one is different than the Lost Levels version. Other than that, everything else is the same. Immediately tosses you into a game over, but we did obtain the high score here, so just inputting our name real quick, and with that, do like to thank you guys for watching. Hope you have yourselves a fantabulous night. Love, peace, and chicken grease to all of the awesome ones out there. And remember to always help control the pocket monster population. Have your Pokemon spayed or neutered. May you all have yourselves a fantabulous evening, and I will see you guys in the next game. Take care, everybody.